Actually live. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, had some technical snafus here at the last minute. I can't even use my regular audio, so I do apologize for a lower quality of audio this morning, but we're here at least. Wayne, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you, Jeff?
With all, except for all of these gremlins, I'm doing great.
Well,
where I can see the chat. Go ahead, my
maybe
friend.
there is a another shift taking place. It's not just us; it's everywhere. I've seen it's something funky is going on with the internet.
It is. I mean, Zoom is acting very wonky, and of course, my soundboard was getting very wonky. But I have a question for you, Wayne, and I think you're one of the few people that knew this. But I'm going to throw out a curveball to you and try to get your feedback on this, because we never talk about anything weird on this show.
No. God forbid.
God forbid. So the plan was, I was supposed to today, November 11th, 2018, I was supposed to be married to Sandra Angelo today.
Wow.
Dresses were bought. In fact, this shirt that I'm wearing, I was supposed to be wearing on the beach in Miami Beach to partake in a wedding. So clothes were bought, a dress was bought, a justice of the peace, vows were written, a hotel room was secured. So all of this stuff happened. But then, of course, since we're here talking, that didn't happen. So my question is, in the whole time-space continuum, is there a timeline where that did happen or will happen today because of all that intention that was put forth?
Well, if you go by the Hermetic principles, yes. It started a course of action that thought within itself begins to build. It was Cinemax did a show on that, and I'm trying to think of the name, but what happened was in our space-time continuum here, something happened. They don't know if we hit a part of space, but a separate reality broke off of our reality. And we could see it. It could actually be linked. And there was strict protocols, how that reality, people could not come over here and interfere. And it was quite a fascinating premise for the movie.
So this was a movie on cinema?
It was a series. Yeah, it was actually a series.
And what was it called?
I'm trying to think of it. I'll think of it here in a second. But it was a great, the guy who does the commercials in the State Farm commercials where he's walking through I guess it's the Museum of Accidents.
Oh, yeah. I know that guy is.
He played the major character in this. He was the key figure, and his wife in this reality was dying. And he was going to see, in a weird plot, to see if he could exchange her for that one there. It was bizarre.
Interesting. So the question that comes to my mind then is, I don't know, every time we have a thought, does it create a timeline? I don't know, but the question would be, how much thought and intention do you have to put into something in order for a timeline to be created?
I think in there you have identified the paradox. We only think in a line. We think in a linear fashion that time is either forward, backwards, or present at the moment. However, I contend, and I did a show on this last week on my program, we say we're three-dimensional beings. So are you telling me the XYZ axis wouldn't work in time as well?
You lost me there. Elucidate a little bit.
All right. So when you plot a course in navigation, you use a XYZ axis.
Right.
It allows you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Take that same principle and apply time to it.
Also, there's got to be another point.
There would be an XYZ axis on time as well.
And we only think in X and Y as far as
We're
time.
just thinking A to B.
Yeah. So where is that other, let's say the Y coordinate for time?
Well, I think you have to find where your 0 point is.
Yeah.
And listen, I think that kind of contends in what we are. If we're a tri-union being, meaning spirit, soul, body, why would we then differ each time in a different plane of reality?
That's a good question too. And have you ever met someone that reminded you very strongly of someone, but you didn't know who that someone was? And is it possible they reminded you of themselves in another reality?
Yeah, it's there are. So I've been doing a lot of reading this week, and it's been fabulous. So there are, before the effect hit us, there are records that distinctly show back in 1997 that, because something happened in 2000, I don't know when it was, 2005, 2010, something happened, we shifted. But it was contended that Earth, our solar system, our star, our sun, was in fact in the Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way, but on the outside of the Milky Way. Today, if you go back and you begin to do the research, you will find that we've moved 50,000 light years in the projected point of the galaxy of the Milky Way of where we are. So that could be suggesting that if we're dealing, for instance, in wormholes, temporal anomalies, distillation of time, is in fact the looking glass device out at area S4, does it really exist? Well, you know, all these things are suggesting that we're not in the same reality that you and I were when we were growing up.
It's sure interesting. It really is. And then someone brought up a very interesting point.
How did you say that?
Robert.
I saw that.
Robert in the chat room says that his third wife looked just like his first wife. He had to hide the pictures. Laugh out loud. And I don't mean to be crass, but were both of them still alive?
Mm.
And what was I going to say about, I forgot what I was going to say.
Timelines and realities.
Yeah.
You know, I contend that we have shifted. There has something fundamentally is different, Jeff. I was reading and this thought hit me. Okay, I have been debating on my channel the number of people on reincarnation.
That's what this question I have is about.
Okay, go ahead. Can you remember it? Go ahead.
Someone asked in the chat room, do we somehow misunderstand reincarnation and it's really just flopping in between timelines?
Well, I think that there may be a correlation in what I had wrote. So I was reading, and all of a sudden, boy, this hit me, and I had to get up and write it. Of course, Lynn knows exactly what's happening. All right. Those who believe in reincarnation, Hindus, Buddhism, etc., I mean, even in Christianity, it is implied that reincarnation exists. But here's my point. If we've misconceived time on a linear fashion instead of on a multidimensional fashion, what makes us think that this is the only physical reality, the only physical plane?
Wow.
I contend, sir, that there is an infinite amount of physical planes. It doesn't stop. What stops is you when you take the upgrade. As I tend to people, all right, so you say reincarnation works. Okay, so what's the purpose of reincarnation? Well, according to Buddha and the yogis, is that you are supposed to be reaching a higher state of consciousness. Well, we've got 7.5 billion assholes in this world, and I don't see anyone ascending to any higher state of consciousness because the world is a much more crappier place. So I'm meditating on this, Jeff.
Kathleen says that she's seen herself in another life.
Well, what if another world in this physical dimension expired and all those spirits are coming here?
That's very interesting. And you think about the concept of doppelgangers, where they say that every one of us has a doppelganger walking around. Well, is that because they come from other dimensions, or is that because we've all been cloned, Wayne, at least once?
You know, theoretical physicists state in string theory, when that what used to be in, I still think that there's foundation to string theory, is that membrane, that veil that separates one temporal reality from the other. I mean, all you and I have to do, Jeff, would be able to alter our internal time. Each of us have our own frequency, our own harmonics. If you can somehow be disciplined enough to switch that, you don't need to switch it much. You will phase out of this reality into the next.
And what if there's times like, for example, November, which is an 11, the 11th, which is an 11, 2018, which is an 11. What if there's times like 11, 11, 11 that offer increased access to other dimensionalities?
I think it's happened. If we take Gordy Rose at his word, he's the CEO of DWave Computer. And if on his company's website, you can still go there, don't replay it on your YouTube channel, they'll strike you with a copyright strike. But Gordy Rose did say when they switched on the quantum DWave computer, he said it was like kneeling at the altar of an alien god.
Wow.
Very descriptive words for an individual who is a futurist technologist, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. And an interesting correlation, if you look at the rollout of D-Wave computers, they curiously match the origins of Mandela effects.
Yes, they do.
Isn't that something?
And I had a show on Friday night with a group of great people, and it hit me. You know, I used to design systems, and how I knew that I could leverage an entrepreneur from a small system to begin to have it integrated into a larger system was daisychain. It's the old thing that you hook one system into the next system, and then you start having the power of that system added to yours, and it works in exponentials. I think that's what DWave has done.
Wow. And people mention CERN. If you backed me into a corner and said, if the Mandela effect is real, did it come from CERN or did it come from D-Wave? I would say it came from D-Wave, because the whole, I don't know how much, and I don't think I'm confusing them, I don't know how much you guys know about quantum computing or D-Wave. That's the one, Wayne, where they take the chip and they put it in super, super cold, so it pushes out. What they're doing is they're creating a
bubble
reality environment. They're actually pushing all of the realities out of this place to make a D-reality or a new reality. And what happens to all the reality that you've shoved out? Does it go out and kind of get discombobulated, and all of a sudden Ricky's not saying, Lucy, you got explaining to do, Darth Vader's saying things he didn't say, Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, is saying things he didn't say, and now the wolf is lying down with the lamb instead of the lion in the Bible. I'm just saying it follows the rollout of CERN computers, so it's very, very interesting.
Well, the thing that's always bugged me was in 2015 when they announced that they were successful in bringing substance from other dimensions into ours. Now, I don't know, they never explained that, what that substance, material, whatever it was. I don't know. I mean, I'm a layman on this, but it would suggest to me, Jeff, that you're mixing stuff that ain't supposed to be mixing, you know? And are we getting just waves of this effect? I contend we've entered into a different region of space. There's things happening to our planet. NASA last week made some of the most amazing admissions that I'm still surprised that they did it. First of all, with Oumuamua, they announced that it is now most likely that was in fact an artificial intelligence craft using light sails for a propulsion system. I did not realize, but what really had to bring this out, and which astronomers saw as well, when that thing passed through last year, it slowed down. And then it speeded
Harvard
up.
That brought that out, or was it NASA? I thought that was Harvard that just said it could have been a
collaboration with JBL Jet Propulsion Laboratories and NASA, they all fund
Yeah,
it.
my sound is a little low today. It's just I got problems, so we'll just have to deal with it, unfortunately.
I can hear you.
Good.
So,
Yes. And why did that thing pick now to come take a look? Is it because we're distorting things with the D waves and the 5G? And I don't know. And people think, oh, it's all about the atomic bombs. Maybe the people that really know don't really give a damn about us blowing this place up, but they're a little bit worried about us being able to tap into quantum realities and affect other places.
you see, I think Gene Roddenberry, that traveler that he was, I think he nailed it. You know, Star Trek Next Generation did a show on this, that when a species goes beyond the mere splitting of an atom, but begins to split the fabric of time space, you've got a weapon.
That's where you become really dangerous.
Yes. And you know what? Our species are still children. And you know what? I do believe there are elders that are out there.
Rat children, Wayne.
Yes, aren't we? Petulant.
Petulant is a great word. Now, this is kind of speculative, but I mean, we're already going down this road. Lizard Man Exposed says, with great conviction, the world was blown up December 25th, 2012. And I know for sure Jesuits made up a tribulation, and they started it on August 21st of 2017 at 11:11 a.m.
You know, at this point in my life, I think you're a fool if you don't consider all possibilities.
But how I've heard this thing before that we're really all dead, and I don't understand what that is. I've never taken the time to read it, and this weekend I didn't read anything more than a menu. So,
well, I'm glad you took a break, buddy.
I needed it. What do you think about this idea that we're all dead and we don't know it?
Well, then what happens to the passing currently that's going on? Are those just circuits that are going out?
Yeah.
You know, I've been meditating a lot, Jeff, on the whole concept of judgment, you know, because it's so ingrained in us, as you know, in the Christian doctrine. In fact, every religion has a judgment component, except I think Buddhism. I think they're the only one that really has this net neutrality.
Yeah.
Which I kind of dig, you know, it's like, yeah, I when you look into it. But here, what's that, buddy?
I just said absolutely.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I've been asking, Jeff. All right. If I was to follow the Judeo values, Christian values that were taught to me, that you die, if you didn't accept Jesus, then there's no propitiation for sin. Thus, you're going to have to go to the full judgment, and you go before God or the great white throne judgment, and there's an angel there that begins to list all of your sins, all your bad deeds. Okay, in justice, the whole foundation of justice is that the justice has to be what they call equal.
Right.
Neutral. You can't see. That's why justice is blind. But here's the problem. So who's judging us, Jeff? If God is judging us, God has never been in the flesh.
Good point.
So how could he judge me on anything that I have ever done in the flesh when he himself would be disqualified from judging me because he could not be equal with me?
But you know, Wayne, you're going to get Christians out there to say that, but Jesus came in the flesh, hallelujah, so he can, glory to God, judge you.
Yeah, well, he was an alien hybrid, if you believe the story. That semen did not come from a human being, did not come from a male with an XYZ chromosome. It came from an alien extraterrestrial deity that I contend raped a 12-year-old.
Yeah. A sermon on semen, only here on your normal.
There we go. Well, you know, those seamen, they're hardy folks. They swim the seas.
Wayne, I actually went on Coast to Coast AM and said that Yahweh raped a 12-year-old girl and produced Jesus.
Did you really?
I got a few emails about that.
You're on a list, buddy.
But the crazy thing is they've had me back 6 times since then. So I don't know. I guess controversy does sell a little bit.
Well, you obviously, how shall we say, pissed off somebody.
I guess so.
But
Wayne,
that's so true.
question. Somebody said something to me this weekend that I found fascinating, and I didn't really think about it. And then I started thinking about it, and I thought, maybe. You have been a long-time sky watcher, and you're about my age. Wayne, are the clouds lower in the sky than they used to be?
Yes, sir. I did a video, sir, in 2016 that actually brought the article out from Popular Mechanics and Popular Science that actually documented the fact that, in fact, it's not only lowering, but now we've identified, I think Trish G, who was trained in the military, I think 8 or 9 new cloud classifications.
Well, it was the British military, but we'll still accept military.
Well, I'll tell you what, she looked mighty fine in that uniform, Tricia. You look a great girl.
Yeah, and when we were kids, there was, what was it? There was Nimbus and Cumulus, and
yeah,
there was like 5 kinds.
Yeah.
Now there's these different kind of clouds. And how do you start inventing new clouds? I mean, how long has there been those regular clouds, and all of a sudden there's new clouds?
Okay, this is going to sound strange, but it goes with the theory that
now it's going to sound strange.
Yeah, now is it strange? When do we pass that threshold? But it goes with the hypothesis that the Earth is expanding. Because as it would expand, the atmosphere would begin to expand with it, and thus it would begin a compression.
So the Earth is getting bigger, you're saying?
There's a lot of evidence that that's exactly what's taking place.
Robert, who is in this business and knows what he's talking about, says that nuclear energy, according to folks in the business, has introduced us to alien technology, and we didn't develop this using slide rules back in the 50s. It was given to us, and Robert says it's not to our benefit.
No, I think...
So, can we go back to the clouds for a minute before we go to that?
Yeah.
What would make the clouds be lower in the sky? I don't get it.
Well, I think there's several things happening, Jeff. Number one, if you could see that there has to be a force that would begin to lower, because either two things are happening. Clouds are very heavy. People don't think about that, but they're made of water.
Right.
And if you were to weigh the average cloud, it's into the billions of metric tons of water. And so imagine if something's happening where particles are getting heavier. I think that what we're seeing is that this is a byproduct of the intensity of cosmic rays hitting the ionosphere, which is then, as we know, where the gamma rays come in, they hit our upper ionosphere, they hit particles, and then there is the diffusion of the intensity of what we call the radiation. With the intensity of cosmic rays, the weakening of the sun, I think this is all having a role in that. So
you could almost say that because of all the GMO stuff in this environment and things, and I know I'm being a little silly, but things evaporating, go up into the clouds. The clouds are almost getting heavier because of a GMO diet.
I would say, yeah. I mean, you know, typically the Earth was the kidneys. Now the clouds are becoming the kidneys, and they were never meant to do that. By that, I mean filtering out contaminants.
And I have a friend who is he's a MD psychiatrist, and he's also a shaman that works with indigenous shamans. So he's not one of these, rent-a shamans. He's an actual real shaman. And he contends that the astral realm is condensing and is compressing, and it's probably going to go away. And maybe if the astral's, as above, so below, if the astral's compressing, maybe this realm is compressing too.
So imagine this. Imagine a race, a species that their conquest are dimensions. And when they invade a dimension, it's above us in our comprehension of how it can be done, but I do believe it is being done only because we believe in angels, we believe in gods, we believe in demons. So these are nothing more than, if they're not interdimensional, they're transdimensional beings.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that if that assumption has any validation, Jeff, and if we take the veracity of the concept forward, why wouldn't there be potentially a species warrior-like? And maybe warrior-like is only our interpretation, but their conquest are dimensions.
That's amazing. And somebody says this, and I don't know the periodic table well enough, but maybe somebody can confirm.
I got it right up here. What would you like?
Is barium Ba?
Yes.
Is aluminum Al?
Al, it is, yes.
So those are two of the things that we know are being put into these aerosol injections. Put barium and aluminum together, the symbols, and what do you get?
Ball.
Ball.
I had a dear friend. He's not a friend. You, Jeff, you and I are like, I like to have everyone. I think everyone I meet is a friend, and
right.
It's not always that way. But he kept, pounding. I serve the Lord Jesus Christ. I here make a public deck. And I finally had to go back and I said, all right, fine. We all know where you stand, but you do realize, Lord, literally, figuratively translates ball.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that ball is Jesus Christ. The thing about Kenneth Copeland in all of his, believer conventions, he's got this huge freaking sign that they make. They pull it down in the on the auditorium, the stadium, and the platform, excuse me. And I look at it now and I thought, it's like the movie They Live.
Is that the Jesus is Lord one?
Yeah. Jesus is Lord. And now I look at it and I'm going, holy crap. I told Lynn, I said, Lynn, for nearly 30 years, I'm in these conventions and the magic is being spelled right out there in front of me. Jesus is ball.
Yeah. And Wayne, is it, we always are talking about ascending to the fifth dimension. What if we're not going to the fifth dimension? What if the fifth dimension's coming to us?
Well, I think the fifth dimension may have already sung out.
And think about this, Wayne. If the dimensions are compressing, and if we're talking about who's going to ascend and who's not going to ascend, if dimensions are compressing and it all compresses to one dimension, then the people that aren't ready to ascend, they're going to be composted, aren't they?
As you were saying that, I'm hearing the Knights of White Satin playing in the back of my head, and I'm hearing, from death, new life. And so why don't dimensions die and reborn?
Maybe they do.
I mean, you can't apply one law and exempt another.
Wow. It's like my friend Halo says, if it's a rule for one thing, it's a rule for everything.
Hey, as above, as below, right?
Yeah.
And they never finished that. The actual saying, as inside, so is outside.
Right.
And as outside, so is inside. That right there gave you my first clue that we looked at time wrong. Because that formula gives me an XYZ axis.
It does, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
Wow. This is some crazy stuff. And we're living in a crazy world. And all of a sudden, some of these new clouds, too, just happen to look like the exact perfect shape of a cloud that you'd want to use to cloak a ship, too.
Oh, and I'm having people all over the world sending. Listen, I made the comment last Monday night, and I'll say it here in our show. I think there's an armada up there. And I really do. I think, Jeff, I know it sounds just totally off the scale, but I think there is. If I can sit in the confines of what I thought was my service to Jesus Christ in proclaiming the gospel, and sat in those meetings, in so many other meetings where it was broadcast to me that Jesus is ball.
Yeah.
Well, what else could I also be deceived about?
Yeah.
Staring it right in the face.
And let's go on with the armada here as well. We're not seeing the armada, but a lot of people see, we see orbs, and some people, I've talked to some people that actually have seen like really, really big orbs, like, orbs that would be, not like a a mothership, but orbs that would be like ship size, and they've seen them over their houses, and there was no drugs or hallucinogens or anything like that involved. They actually saw these orbs. What if these ships are out there, but of course they're cloaked, or they're putting stuff in our atmosphere so we can't see them, or whatever? Is it possible that many times orbs are like probes? They're just sending them down to check us out and see what's going on.
Yeah, and let's just say hypothetically that the time-space continuum has in fact been torn.
Ooh, and if you're coming from one time-space continuum, if you're coming from one dimension to another, and you need to retain your dimensional integrity, wouldn't you have to create like a little bubble to travel in?
It's the same thing we would do when we dive under the ocean. We create our own bubble. You can call it our own reality.
Be a little interdimensional traveling bubble probe.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think something's happened. I mean, of course we're just speculating, but that's what humans do. That's the great thing of what we can do. Is that, all right, so Oumuamua comes through here.
That's the long cylindrical.
Yeah, that's the, it's.
It accelerated, it decelerated, it acted just like a craft.
It did. It absolutely did.
Thought it was a comet, and they're like, "Oh, this is no comet."
I was like, "Well, wait a minute, what happened on this?" Yeah. So,
slow down and speed up, folks.
Yeah. So, all right. So they've noticed that we suddenly now have technology aided. I don't think man attained this by our brilliance. I really don't. We're not that bright. As my whiteboard says, Jeff, we've been here for what? 70,000 years, sapiens?
We've been here.
Why haven't we developed telepathy, telekinesis? You could go through the whole things. We should have already, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now we're dealing in quantum experiments that I don't think we have any. And I always go back to my Bible teaching. In the book of Proverbs, it says the smallest rules the largest.
That's true.
That is true.
And why do some of us, in spite of what we're doing and what we're saying, why do some of us seem to be protected?
Good question, because it's quite apparent we are. I think, and I'll give tribute to my wife on this one. Look at this from a virus.
A virus, okay.
A virus is introduced as a foreign body to a body. And as the virus begins to metastasize and transmutate the host of which it's been injected into, the host will begin to produce antibodies. And it's these antibodies that become the biggest threat to the virus.
Ooh, good point.
And so the virus then begins to mutate and begin to see how it can destroy the antibodies.
So in that analogy, I think I used to say, we are the virus, but we're really the antibodies.
We are the antibodies.
Interesting. I like that. That has the ring of truth to it.
Well, we're the biggest threat.
Yeah.
I think as it's written, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Well, that begins to tell you some things right there.
Yeah. So the virus is unable to harm us.
Yeah, I think that's what we become immune to. The 5G that's being out there, many of us are experiencing these kind of headaches, these subtle headaches and listen, I know it's weird, but I think somehow we are that remnant. We are always that factor in any invasion that we become immune.
How do you know if you're an antibody, and how can you become one?
Well, you and I sit here with rational minds, and we can look and we can step back, as many others are doing, and we can look at this now, not only from the 60,000 foot level, we can look at this from the 60 million mile level. We understand that there are the mind coituses that I always like to call them, and this is the religion. Stalin was right. He said that, religion is the opiate of the people.
The opiate of the masses.
Yeah. And we see it play out. We're always the ones that will be fingered, as it's been shown, replete through history, that when we awaken, I contend that we're in a new age here. I'm doing an expose, Jeff, called From the Gilded Age to the Gullible Age. And
a couple of bit from the Gilded Age to the what?
Gullible.
Oh, nice. And sometimes this is the finger they give us, Wayne.
Exactly. They do. And, you know, we begin to be, we don't adapt to their frequencies. Why? Because I really do believe that we are vibrating at a higher frequency than they can actually generate.
So we're sort of impervious to their technology and their means to attack us.
Yeah, and I'll tell you where I draw the parody on this.
Wow.
The 144,000.
Somebody just said that in the chat room. I think it was Tracy Dyer.
Yeah. So
I was a little bit worried about Tracy because she hadn't said anything really remarkable the whole show, and she usually says something remarkable before 35 minutes.
Dun. But yeah, I really do. And even amongst us, we're seeing now, I think, this continual regeneration of, well, knowledge.
And even when I was a ridiculous Pentecostal evangelist, wiping my sweat brow and healing people, even then, Wayne, I had this weird protection. I had witches trying to hex me. I had all things trying to be done to me. And I was impervious to any of that, even back then.
Yep.
It's weird.
My clue was, this Led Zeppelin thing that keeps happening. But the line in Kashmir that was really struck me is, there's a telepathy, there's a mental thing going on here somewhere.
Kashmir song?
Yes, Led Zeppelin. And it's off the Houses of the Holy album, I believe. Or no, Physical Graffiti. And it says, I am a traveler of both time and space.
Ooh.
And all shall be revealed.
Kathleen Sharp is just quoting that.
Yes. So
all will be revealed.
All will be revealed.
They wrote, I'm a traveler both time and space, and all will be revealed.
And that's the song that was hitting over and over time when I go out in the garage randomly. And here's Led Zeppelin playing. And sure enough, here comes Kashmir. And then after those, I'd hear Stairway to Heaven. So, the thing about the band Led Zeppelin, they are, they worship Saturn.
I get a few emails about, Wayne is so wrong, and you should tell him he's wrong because Jimmy Page was a Satanist, horrible person. There's no way Led Zeppelin could have been putting out anything good or helpful or useful.
Yeah, well, show me Satan.
Yeah, and I just hit delete.
It's like, folks, if you believe in those things, then they'll manifest for you. And I don't argue with people anymore. They come back and say Satanist Luciferians, and I'm going, it's just a different degree of light. It's no different than a Christian sitting in a church than if you're saying some cat's worshiping a goat.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference?
Somebody said, are the 7 principles our armor? I thought that was rather profound.
That, you know what? Who said that?
T. Peters.
Way to go. High five, buddy. You know what, Jeff? We need to start getting a pool where we can buy some coffee carts. Because
something to give out, yeah.
Because, bingo, you just hit that exactly. Because, Jeff, I did a study. Isn't this paradoxical as well? I did a study on Ephesians 6:12. Where Paul lists out the hierarchy of the kingdoms.
Yep.
And then he goes on with that strangest thing.
It's principalities and powers and
the master spirits of the current darkness of the age.
Yep.
Which kind of leads into me, the whole thing, is this an invasion of a dimensional being? Ooh. But then he goes on and he talks about the armor of God. Now, if you pull out the God reference and simply read what he said, what the armor is, Holy crapola, folks.
I'm not getting it.
Uh,
So shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel.
yeah.
Gird your loins with truth. Take up the shield of faith. Have the sword of the Spirit. Helmet of salvation. Was there 5 or
I think there are 5. You just hit the whole thing right there, Jeff, because now if you take that, and this is what I did.
Breastplate of righteousness. Did I forget that one? There might be 7. I can't only 5 came
So
out.
it says, therefore, put on the complete armor. So I'm just going to read you taking out the religious, that you may be able to resist and stand your ground on the day of danger, having done all that the crisis demands to stand firm in your place. Stand therefore, since you have tightened the belt of truth around your loins, have put on the breastplate of integrity and moral rectitude, and thus far are the right standing of a God. And having shod your feet in preparation to face the enemy with the firm-footed stability, the promptness, the readiness to produce the good news.
Huh. Why can't I figure? I'm going to look in.
Yeah, this is the Amplified. And all I did was just take out the reference to, the Hebraic or Judaic, or as I tried to write to this one guy today, I said, Christianity is a made-up religion, right? They had to steal a god in order to have a god, and then they had to steal a culture in order to build their religion on. And he wrote back, he said, how can you blaspheme God that way? I said, well, buddy, wait a minute. Is God a Christian? Yes or no? Because he was the Jewish God. Did he have a conversion? Look at Jeff. He's counting.
You could say there were 7 of them. 7.
Yeah.
Armor.
Yeah.
If you include the prayer and the sword of the Spirit.
Yes.
So there'd be 7. So there are 7 hermetic principles. So T. Peter's analogy plays.
And you have 7 hierarchies.
Yeah. Wow. So 1 for each of them.
Yes.
So now the point is to figure out which hierarchy do you use which armor against.
Well, I had a delightful phone call with a person, and, she was saying that you finally got me thinking. She said, I went back and fact-checked you guys. She said, you're right. There's 3 different places in the Christian Bible that says you are gods.
Oh, of course there are.
She says, you're not lying about that.
Of course we're not.
And she says, so how does a god sin?
Ooh, that's a good one. How does a god sin?
I'm trying to get this thing, folks. I don't know. You're the Pentecostal evangelist. Tell us.
Excuse me, but what does God need with a starship?
Exactly.
It's the same thing. And then it's so beautiful. That scene continues, and the God says to Kirk, the God says to one of the other people standing there, goes, who is this being? And Kirk's like, who am I? Aren't you God? Don't you know? And it's just the whole thing's unraveling. And we don't listen to this stuff. And then later on in that same movie, Spock and McCoy are looking out at this planet saying, we're just speculating, where is God? And Kirk again walks up and says, well, what if God's not out there, gentlemen? What if he's right here in the human heart?
Bingo.
Yeah.
They're
telling us all. They're trying to tell us, and we just don't want to listen.
And I have to say, the lady that said that says, well, then how does a God sin?
The God doesn't.
God, apparently they can't.
Yeah.
Well, if we're gods, then what the hell are we doing in this whole proselytization? One faith says that you have 70 virgins, if you meet the quota. That would be hell for me.
Yeah.
What? I mean, that so diminishes the next realm to something that's merely physical.
Mm.
I don't make any sense to me, brother.
Wayne, as I approach 40 years of spiritual
Well, you're young.
Travel, 40 years of spiritual experience, I've become more and more convinced that this whole thing is set up to keep us from realizing for as long as possible, to keep us for as long as possible from realizing that we're gods and we're in charge.
Jeff, my dear friend, if that ever seeds into the consciousness of man, we will rise above the invisible gods. We will rise above our ignorance and begin to take our place at the table.
Absolutely.
But there's something trying to fight us, something that has been vehement to deny us that consciousness, that level of awareness.
And when you read, I just read this the other day about the angels, it says even the angels desire to look into the things that we're able to understand. If you get into that in the, I think that's Old Testament, or at least it was quoted from the Old Testament, it contains an undertone of jealousy.
Yes.
The angels are jealous of us.
I heard the word envy.
Like us. Envy, right.
Yeah.
They envy us. Why? Because we are made to take over this whole thing.
And that's my point. When I was
girl choke, you said God send. She says, I almost choked. God send.
Well, according to Psalms 82, they die too. So I don't know. I don't know. But when you begin to think about that, it puts it on a different level.
Wow. Do you guys believe that we are down here because we chose to come down here to help? Maybe we heard a distress call. Ask Steph 888.
Hermes says that we went kicking and screaming.
Yeah. I don't know if I volunteered for this. I know a lot of people say that we did. I have a hard time believing I volunteered.
Boy, that's why, Jeff, if I can say this, that's why no angel, no God could ever judge a person, whether they wasted their life or did great merits in their life. The fact that the person went through the process distinguishes them above. And that's why I don't get into this thing of reincarnation, because then what you're saying then, that God is this somehow above this chaos. And as I wrote to someone, he said, I died and I went to hell. And I said, well, let's stop and think about this. I took him exactly back into Ephesians, where it says that Jesus created all things were made through him, by him, and through him. And nothing was made that wasn't made by him.
John 1:1 and 2.
So I said, you're in hell. So explain to me, how did God separate himself from this situation? Yeah. Because here where your schizoid God of the Christian Bible comes in, how can he produce a place where he's not in?
Yeah. Wow. But did we come here to learn how to be gods? And is there a waiting list to try to get here?
Yes, I do believe that. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
But then doesn't that throw into if we didn't come here willingly, then we couldn't be coming here to learn that we're gods, could we?
Well, not all gods, I think, choose to go this route.
Or maybe, our own will. We talk about our will. Our will is the thing that rebels against our true self.
How about if I add another ingredient to the recipe? What if there are other species of other dimensions, other creations we have no idea competing in the same space?
Right. And we've got the home field advantage, and they're trying to get us to give that up.
We've talked about how the ancient Hebrews and the Egyptians and others could create golems, the jinn.
We even got a ear twitch out of Rooney on that one.
Rooney's go, what? I heard that.
Oh, that was pretty good.
So how, we know this. And I keep on thinking, in my dreams, I keep getting the sense that Homo sapiens aren't the only ones here, folks. As I explained to it, how did reincarnation? So where did Homo erectus, Homo antithecus, where did Homo denison, Homo neanderthal, Homo Cro-Magnon? if you've got this crazy reincarnation thing, where the hell are they? Did you say that? Well, that's why I don't believe in reincarnation, because how are you saying that you've got another species of man that suddenly is going to morph into the next version of man? Oh, come on.
Wow. And so you're saying there's those species of man, and then another species of man might come onto the scene, but it's not a morph from one to the other.
How could that be? You know, when sapiens appeared 70,000 years ago, and listen, anthropologists know this, we've got the skeletons. Yep. And here's the thing, in 70,000 years, we killed off the other 5 species.
Yeah. And the current people don't really understand this because, people aren't going to college and usually don't take that much time to think. But the idea of gradualism is no longer the belief of evolutionary thought. They don't think a mouse sprouts some wing buds. No. It's called punctuated equilibrium is now the current thought, which means that a species will die out and then a new one will appear. Yep. In their theory, an improved one will appear. So it's not. So what you're saying is punctuated equilibrium, Wayne.
Yes, sir.
This question. Either we agree to come here. Oh, I like this. This is from Robert, USN vet, 3rd generation. Either we agreed to come here, or maybe we were captured, given amnesia, sent to this prison planet. Maybe we're even rejects from other planets, dissidents, criminals, dropped off.
Robert, I hear Daffy Duck saying this.
So this is Australia. This whole planet is Australia.
Yeah. It's like, what UFO dropped off all these morons? Because it's apparent ain't coming back.
But if you were trying to prevent a species from finding out who they are and taking the whole thing over, it'd be a great idea to try to capture them and dump them in some backwoods, backwater place. Maybe the reason why we don't see aliens showing up on Earth is because Earth is way out of the way and really, really insignificant.
Well, let's add something to that as well. So now that NASA
went to Australia, there's a reason why they sent the criminals there. Yeah. Ain't nobody going to Australia back then.
No.
Much love to our Australians today, but we have a lot.
The Aboriginals were going, what?
Yeah,
what? What happened here? Well, so they announced as well, I think it was in physics.org, that they now say that they estimate a star came through our solar system 70,000 years ago and wreaked havoc. And all of a sudden, then we see the advent of sapiens. And oddly enough, in this period of time, man learned speech. They don't know how we did this. They don't know where the jump came from this, but we learned to articulate speech.
And what if it was at the Tower of Babel, and if this speech that we so-called learned was the shutting down of our telepathic abilities to communicate and the inflicting of speech upon us?
Yeah, because look what speech does to us. It divides us.
Even people that speak the same language will get in fights because especially, English is a great one. I can say you can be going really fast, you're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, or you can be stuck fast in the mud going nowhere.
It's kind of like I had a boss that I worked for, and this guy just had a sour disposition. And my bubbly type, I was marketing and sales, and I always would say, good morning. And he would always reply, what the blank is good about it?
Yeah.
So,
and even think about our cuss words. There's a versatile little word that starts with an F, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can mean you really, really hate somebody, or it could mean you really, really like to get to know them better.
Yeah. And or you can say to someone in a crowd, I love you, and they'll go, back at you, And how many times have you seen something? I've seen this in office all the time. You'll say something and someone will say, what did you mean by that? I don't know. Hello?
And it's just crazy. And so I think that language may have been a curse, a sentence.
Ooh, that is a good metaphor. I like that.
Well, check this out, Wayne. You can't spell without language.
Ooh.
I got to write that down.
Bum, 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 bum.
Can't spell without language.
Let's see. Bellstar says, Jeff, get the book Word Magic by Po Chang. It's awesome. Just blew my mind. Word Magic. I'll have to look that up myself.
Can't spell without language. So language.
You can't.
So you can't keep you. Oh, Wayne.
Wow.
They couldn't put humanity under a spell until they had a language.
Wow. You see, it's just part of this breaking this amnesia. We all play a part in it because I think we all have a fragment.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that make sense? You know, instead of saying you divided the language, you just took our ability to be able to communicate to one another.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a regression, Brother Jeff. That's a regression.
It's been a long time since somebody called Brother Jeff, Wayne.
Well, I'm old school. What can I say?
Wow, that's some crazy stuff. So
well,
we just
we got a week's worth of material. Huh?
We just spent an hour talking about nothing. This is like the Seinfeld of spiritual shows. It's a show about nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, we uncovered some great nuggets. Fabulous stuff here. I mean, I like this fact.
If we go back to the very thing we started the show with, I was supposed to get married today. And all these preparations were made. All this intention was made. All this money was spent. But I'm not bitter. But all of this went into it. So does it create, is there a reality, a quantum reality somewhere created where that event does happen? And if yes, then we should really, really be careful what we think about and what we put powerful intention into, because at some point, we don't really know what point, does something get created? And if it does, wow.
Well, in the Hermetica that I just love, I tell you, anyway, Hermes says, Thoth says, that the all never stops creating. Neither do we. And when you were saying, I got this view of a comet going through, and behind the tail is the realities we are creating.
All leaving in our wake.
Yes.
Wow.
And so we will never see how the reverberations go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Misunderstood says, you could still get married today.
Well, one reality, I guess you could, couldn't you?
I think that it's probably going to happen in some reality because there's so much intention put into it that it probably is going to happen in some quantum reality.
Can I say this? Because I just want to, I had a group that, these are former LSD users that were from the 70s, and we're getting together. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is that I can remember, Jeff, in the times when they say you're peaking on the toxin that's in your brain, that I could see cars, I could see people, and what I was seeing is that I was seeing it being stepped. They call it tracers.
Wow.
And it's really interesting as I began to look at this now, some, nearly 50 years later, I had the ability to see time and space slow down as it actually is. There is no such thing as fluid movement.
Interesting. And somebody just put this in the 1111 code, says that the 29th will be the next 11/11/11 day, and it's 18 days from now.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Numbers are powerful, no doubt about it.
Interesting.
So time, space. Jeff, think about this week not on a linear plane, but do X, Y, Z, and you begin to really see where the potential of time. I can't even find theoretical physicists yet that would begin to approach on that.
Where would you plot that third point that's not on this dimension?
Well, you would use time
traveling. You could plot it to any dimension you want to go to, couldn't you?
Yeah. You would be primarily the 0 point. Wow. You would plot yourself onto whatever grid that you were on.
Wow.
I know it.
And if you could do that, that's interesting. And guess what starts on the 29th is the Witness in the Desert event.
Well, there you go.
Are you going to be there for that, Wayne? Are you going to be able to come down?
No, unfortunately I won't be. Are you going?
I am going, absolutely.
Are you driving out there? Are you flying? How are you doing that?
Actually, someone sponsored my trip out there, so I'm going to be very grateful to.
Excellent.
And I don't. She wants to be named, but I'll be. Someone provided miles for me to go out and back. So
excellent. Well,
I
have a
probably
good time.
wouldn't have been able to without it. So thank you very much. And
Well, that is outstanding.
A lot of people have been very generous. I know Rex will be there. This is the third time I've been with Rex. It's starting to become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Rex will be there. Derek will be there. I'll be there. I think the guy, and I'm sorry I'm calling him the guys, I forgot his name, from the Best Damn Podcast. I believe that's who is going to be there. Now, some people are saying that an alien's going to show up there. I don't know about all of that, but I'll be there.
What is this? What's the foundation for this? Because I don't even know. Excuse me, I stay reading too much. So, what's the purpose for the meeting in the desert?
The purpose is that we're going to go out to. Derek has facilitated an invitation from the Hopis, so we're going to go out onto Hopi sacred lands and look at some of their sacred sites. Go into some of these sacred. John from the Best Damn Podcast. We're going to go into some of the sacred sites there, and we're going to go into some of these sacred caves that allegedly contain a variety of different creatures that are both transdimensional, maybe from the inner earth, and different kinds of beings. And we're also going to go into Monument Valley and talk about and look at and evaluate the probability of these just being things that were carved over time by wind and sand and rain, or are they actually structures of a different type?
Okay. Interesting.
And then we'll have 3 teams, probably a Jeff team, a Derek team, and a Rex team out. We'll be filming live via satellite hookups, and then in the evening we'll come in, gather around a big campfire with all the people that are congregated, and talk about it, answer questions, ask questions. And
are you going to be camping?
It's going to be it's going to be camping, and it's going to be cold.
I was going to say it's snowing right now heavily here.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's cool. I record that. Now, Jeff, I'm just going to give you a little guidance here.
Please do.
Well, and I'm sure y'all handle this, but you're bringing in a lot of energy, different energy with a lot of different people. And, I often say this, if you're going into a foreign country, you should always know the customs and protect. Right. Wow, this is very interesting. The protection, Jeff, because you, sir, you know what happened last time in the prison that you went through.
Right. I will not be fasting when I go out there this time.
Please don't. I mean, beef up on the vegetarian pizza or whatever, Yeah,
I'll do some fasting between now and then. But
just be fully charged, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'll put a veil of protection around you as well.
I appreciate that so much.
Well, that'll be interesting. Now, on the what is the 29th? I don't even know what date that's is.
Thursday, I want to say.
Is that a Thursday?
I think exactly 1 week after Thanksgiving. It is the 29th, and it'll go through that Sunday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we should do our Sunday morning show out there. You'll actually be an hour behind me. No, yeah. Is this in Arizona?
Behind you. Yeah, it'll be in Pacific time zone.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Or they might have just switched. We might be the same time.
Yeah, I think Arizona is one of those states that they finally got sane and said, we ain't switching our clocks.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Why?
So we might be on the same time. I'm not sure.
Well, cool. That'll be a really interesting show.
Nice to see Caroline pop into the chat room.
Hello, Caroline. Great song. Love that.
Yeah, it is a great song, huh?
Absolutely, it is.
Did Neil Diamond ever say who Sweet Caroline was?
He never did. But it was that song and Stevie Wonder's My Cherie Amour, that I remember growing up.
Boy, she could really sing. That's all right. I'm thinking about Stevie Nicks when you said that.
Yeah. Miss Stevie Nicks, that's an interesting woman, self-proclaimed witch. Actually, she made a guest cameo appearance on the America Horror Story, America Apocalypse.
Really?
Yeah, she did, and sang Gypsy.
Ooh.
It was, woof. I mean, here, and, Stevie, and she's an amazing woman. She said she was not going to give childbirth. She put all of her energy into her powers.
That's very interesting. Wayne, just to kind of close it out, you mentioned gypsies. Do you think that spiritual gifts, abilities can be passed down genetically?
Yes. Jeff, you'll be happy to know this, and tell Jay the same thing. I just got my full physical, blood work, everything else. I got the blood of a 42-year-old, is what they said. But here's the other thing. I finally found out what blood type I am. O negative. So go figure that.
Blood type, huh? Rh negative.
Yeah, O negative. So I can give blood to anyone and everyone. Everyone can. So anyone, yeah.
I think Jay's coming out to the desert too for a day or two.
Well, now that would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting mixture. Well, I'm sure you're going to be doing enough live streaming and what have you. And who knows, with everything that's going on, maybe there will be a ship that will literally land. I think that there is a breakout coming, as Thin Lizzy would say. There is a breakout.
We'll be there.
Well, I'm happy for you.
We'll keep you in the loop. And I think I'm not speaking out of turn that if you did have a change of heart and wanted to come down, we probably could find a place for you for sure.
Okay.
Today is the 11th.
Today is the 11th. 11/11.
1, 2, 3 Sundays from now. We'll be in the midst of it, right?
I think so.
2 Sundays from now. My bad.
Yeah.
2 Sundays plus a few days.
Well, I'm glad you're flying out there. That would be a hell of a drive, though. Although it would be interesting.
Drive out there.
I could see Jeff. Now, are you going to be on this week, buddy?
Yes, I just I was off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we were going to do the Rapscallion show, but Scotty didn't have any internet connectivity, so I really just took off Friday and Saturday, and then today we're back, and I'll be back with some more podcast excellence as well today. Neil Simon said during a appearance on Today that the song was about his wife at the time, whose name was Marcia, but he couldn't get anything to rhyme with Marcia.
That doesn't surprise me. Does not surprise me.
It's true or not, it's a good story.
I like that story. Songs are always best when they have the stories behind them.
Yeah, and Seven Serpents says that his blood type is coffee.
That means you can take all kinds, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Speaking of, just about singers and stuff, I'm almost 100% positive that this New Year's Eve I'm going to be in Nashville, and we're going to be able to be backstage guest of Keith Urban. He has a great concert that he does there every New Year's, and we take sometimes a dim view of these Hollywood types and these celebrity types, but watching a couple of videos of Keith Urban and seeing that Nicole was there, his wife Nicole Kidman, and whatever they are, whatever they do, that woman is in love with that man for sure, and it's really nice to see. And I saw him the other day. He was on his tour, and he went in and was singing a song to a terribly ill young lady that's on door's death. So I think those are probably two pretty good people in the midst of all of everything. So it's nice to catch some people doing things right every now and then instead of catching them doing things wrong. And I hope to have the chance to tell that to Nicole personally.
Good deal. I lived in Nashville for 2 years. That was my sales, working right there on 16th and 17th Avenue.
Yeah.
Had some great times. Great time. Of course, it's grown up a little bit since then.
Yeah, absolutely.
As everything has.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, my friend. This has been great. I love time goes by quickly.
You know what the slider phenomenon is?
That was the show where I think were actually opened.
Oh, they slide through time. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
yeah,
That someone said we should talk about that. That'd be interesting.
yeah. I think we're already there.
I think we are too.
Yeah,
Caroline says Keith and Nicole have been through a lot, and they seem like they're the real deal.
Hey, listen. Charlie Rich said it best. No one knows what goes on behind closed doors.
That's right. No one knows. That was a great song.
Yeah, it was a great song. He's now out there on his next journey, but that was a great song.
So now he does know what goes on.
Yes, he does. You know, I guess that's why I keep on thinking, there's not a lot of spirits that I know that actually come and manifest, but it's like, well, why would you want to stay around here? Unless you've got a case of voyeurism.
Yeah, it's true. It's a big go check it out.
I just thought of something, Jeff.
What'd you think, Wayne?
It's only the perverts that stay behind.
That could be. That could be.
Okay, that was just a joke.
Going to Elvis's house if I go to Tennessee. Memphis is a long way from Tennessee.
A long ways.
Hours, but
that is like sorry, I've done that right down, what is it? 40 goes west. Yeah.
And I don't want to be critical of Memphis, but if they ever have a tornado go through there, it'll probably do a couple $1 million worth of improvements.
I've stayed at the Peabody. Everyone talks about the Peabody. Yeah. And I thought the ducks were very amusing. The great thing about staying at the Peabody is this. You can literally walk across the street, go down that dark alley to Rendezvous, one of the best rib places there in Memphis.
I've been there to both of them. I made the walk, Wayne.
There you go. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here this morning. We spiraled a little bit at the end, but for the most part, we were on point.
Listen, it's that time of the show.
It is. And now it's that wonderful time that we like to call breakfast time, where Wayne gets a nice home-cooked breakfast by his wife, and I get to go to the restaurant down the street for someone that doesn't even know me that's going to cook something for me.
Jeff, things are going to be changing for you.
Oh, things are already changing, Wayne.
I know it.
Good day to be alive. It really is.
It is. I don't think you'll ever have. Anyway, we'll just continue on.
I am in it. It's a great place.
It is. I'm looking forward to seeing your shows and continue to carry on, my friend. It's always good to see you.
Absolutely. If you create some timelines, make sure you're creating positive timelines, right?
Ooh, boy. Spot on, my friend.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. Nice to see all of you in the chat room. We love and appreciate every one of you. And we will be back. Wayne will be doing a lot of work over on the Wayne Steiger channel, our Wayne Steiger. Make sure that you subscribe and keep an eye out for us today as well. Take care.